YouTube? It's your girl, Bookish Nerdy Girl, coming at you with another video. I know it's been a second, but I'm back and finally recording some new stuff. Today I'm going to be checking out Fate Lore, the tale of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, or Enkidu. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Bookish Nerdy Girl. I do all different types of content. I do anime, I do gaming stuff, I do cartoons, and even if your reaction doesn't fall in the the normal things that I would normally react to, that's totally fine. I'll at the very least look into it and then decide from there if I actually want to do a reaction for it. So let me just pull up the video so we can get this started, and let's get it. OtakuDaiKun.
The Age of Gods marks a time in history when divine spirits, born from and sustained by human worship, are ever present within the world. Gods, monsters, fairies, and phantasmal species roam the planet, directly interacting with humans. The apex of their existence hits in the age before Christ, but by the year 2600 BC, the gods of Mesopotamia realize their existence is fading, their influence declining. They realize that the Age of Gods will end so long as this trend continues.
I mean, that does make sense.
The Sumerian king of Uruk, Lugalbanda, and his wife, the goddess Ninsun, have a child, a demigod who is 2/3 divine and 1/3 mortal.
Ooh.
This boy, Gilgamesh, is created by the gods to be the keystone of heaven, a mediator between humans and the divine, bestowed with hopes of re-establishing the influence the gods had lost. In his youth, Gilgamesh adores the gods while showing signs of arrogance towards humanity. While ultimately innocent, the gods foresee the need to keep the boy under their control, to ensure he stays true to his mission. Thus, Anu, the king of gods, and Aruru, the goddess of creation, work together to construct a being from clay, the figurative chains of heaven, Enkidu. The genderless form, created without a soul, wanders the wilderness beyond Uruk after being sent to Earth, at first unable
really
to recognize their calling. Anu instructs Enkidu to venture into the cedar forest and learn about humanity from a beast named Humbaba. The monster is a creation of Utu, the god of the sun, justice, morality, and truth. While Utu created Humbaba to be his vision of a complete human being, with the innocent heart of a young girl, the creature's bestial form merely serves to show just how out of touch the gods are with humanity.
Yeah.
Enkidu spends time being friends with Humbaba, erecting a garden in the forest for it, and even offering it a circlet of flowers as a parting gift.
Aww.
Of course, Humbaba is far from human, and Enkidu only learns so much from their time together. Still lacking rational thought, Anu sends Enkidu, Uruk's sacred prostitute, Shamat. At first glance, Enkidu is smitten by her beauty, and the two intimately spend 6 days and 7 nights together, sharing food and bed. Over this time, Enkidu changes into a human form, imitating Shamat's beauty. Looking at their reflection in the mirror, Enkidu acquires knowledge and rationality, the truths of heaven and earth. Speaking their name aloud for the first time, Enkidu realizes their mission of reining in Gilgamesh's arrogance. At long last, Enkidu ventures into the city and encounters Gilgamesh, expecting a tyrant, but instead finding a beloved child. The young king does not fully submit to the gods, but certainly holds them in high regard. Essentially, there is nothing to punish. Gilgamesh is benevolent and cherished by Uruk's people.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause there for a minute. So this is totally different from the Gilgamesh we see in Fate Stay Night. I don't know if this is after he loses everything and he's just kind of done with the BS and he's just like, screw it, I'm just going to do what I want. Humans are annoying, they're pieces of crap, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if that was the case, I don't feel like that would necessarily make sense. Like, his anger would be more displaced because you're taking it out on us when we're not the ones who would have done anything at this point. It would have been the gods. Therefore, you should be on our side and trying to kill the gods. So I don't know when, like, Fate Stay Night timeline for Gilgamesh really kind of starts. I feel like it's probably before Enkidu and all this other stuff. It would make more sense that way, but I don't know. Let's see.
As such, Enkidu resolves to wait and observe Gilgamesh grow up into a young man. However, in a complete reversal, the new Sumerian king matures into a loathsome leader. He oppresses his people, imposes levies, and relishes in worldly pleasure, while his people starve and exhaust themselves. Beyond the gifts bestowed upon him by the gods, Gilgamesh amasses an enormous treasury filled with all the luxuries of his time, including an armory of weapons thought to be the originals and prototypes of many famous blades to emerge across history.
Yeah.
Clearly, he believes himself not to merely be the king of Uruk, but the ruler of the earth and all its treasures. His greatest treasure is Ea, the Sword of Rupture, a divine construct which only he can possess. If he deems his opponent worthy, he can unleash Ea's true strength. Enuma Elish, the star of creation that split heaven and earth, a torrential whirlwind capable of tearing apart the fabric of reality. The gods themselves are surprised to see his abuse reach such extremes.
Wow.
Enkidu admits the need to punish the king and proceeds to challenge him outside Uruk's ziggurat. There, they fight for several days. Enkidu, who is able to change shape to avoid attacks, becomes Gilgamesh's equal in combat, forcing him to withdraw blades from his treasury via a portal, the Gate of Babylon, and launch them as projectiles. Gilgamesh is initially frustrated and humiliated at having to resort to such tactics, but soon finds himself enjoying their bout. Eventually, Enkidu's clay is depleted, and Gilgamesh's vault is empty. Left with only one chance to attack apiece, neither of them have a means of defending themselves. Bringing their fight to a standstill, Gilgamesh and Enkidu fall onto their backs and laugh boisterously towards the sky. The two gain an understanding from this prolonged bout and form an everlasting friendship.
Makes sense.
Over the following years,
Makes sense.
Gilgamesh and
I've heard weirder
Enkidu adventure beyond Uruk's walls and eventually find themselves at the edge of the cedar forest, home to the violent monster Humbaba, the same creature Enkidu once befriended as a fellow beast. Now, however, Gilgamesh declares Humbaba to be an evil of the earth that they must defeat to prevent his people's starvation. While puzzled by the king's sudden consideration for his own citizens, Enkidu nonetheless agrees to assist in slaying the beast, recalling that when they first met, Humbaba let out a cry of perpetual hate and resentment for the world. For Enkidu, defeating Humbaba is an act of mercy, so the two heroes take to and end the monster after a harrowing confrontation. Regardless, Humbaba dies while still wearing the circlet Enkidu made for it, and to show their sympathy, Enkidu leaves behind a second circlet of flowers to honor the beast. After the battle, Enkidu still questions Gilgamesh's actions.
I would too.
Why would he, who tyrannically abuses his people, act in their favor? In a twisted way, Gilgamesh loves humanity, yearning to see them prosper over the course of time, but feels his cruelty is necessary to foster a thriving populace.
In certain instances.
He plays this tyrant's role of his own volition, appearing to loathe both gods and humans simultaneously, a choice that leaves him isolated, making his friendship with Enkidu even more special. Finally, Enkidu understands Gilgamesh's method of kingship and pledges to be his loyal tool until the end of the world.
Cool.
In response, Gilgamesh reprimands Enkidu, reassuring them that they're not a tool, that those who live, talk, and fight together are friends. Following his ideals, Gilgamesh becomes the wealthiest king on Earth, and Uruk surprisingly prospers from this.
It does, actually.
Enamored by his achievements, the goddess Ishtar descends upon him from the heavens,
Oh, of course.
proposing marriage.
No.
Gilgamesh knows of the goddess's cruel infidelity and immediately rejects her.
Nope.
The spoiled Ishtar takes this as an insult,
Of course.
crying to her father, the god Anu, for permission to unleash Gugulana, the bull of heaven, upon Uruk. For 7 years, the bull destroys the earth and causes Uruk's people to starve,
Ishtar's a little
until
brat.
Gilgamesh and Enkidu are able to topple the beast with the chains of heaven. They defeat Gugulana, saving the land from imminent flooding. Outraged at her loss, Ishtar demands that Gilgamesh and Enkidu be put to death. And in
Why?
response, the gods bring punishment down upon Enkidu. Having been created by the gods, Enkidu is unable to resist as they are returned to clay, crumbling apart in Gilgamesh's arms. Devastated, Gilgamesh states that he deserves punishment, but Enkidu calms him, assuring that they were only one of many treasures in Gilgamesh's vault, and that he will surely find more worthy replacements.
That
As
sucks,
Enkidu
though.
returns to the earth, Gilgamesh assures, "You do have worth. You have this worth. I hereby declare, in all this world, only one shall be my friend. Thus, not for all eternity shall your worth ever change."
So he does never have friends
Regardless, the friends part with Gilgamesh's thunderous cry, and for the very first time, the king fears death. He who yearns to observe humanity's future feels that he must overcome his mortality to do so.
again. Makes sense.
For decades, Gilgamesh wanders the wilderness in search of a way to overcome death,
Turns into a control
eventually
freak.
learning of a sage, Utnapishtim, who once survived a massive flood that wiped out all other
Oh,
humans.
wow.
To discover how he survived, Gilgamesh ventures into the underworld and finds the sage deep within. Tragically, Gilgamesh learns that Utnapishtim overcame his mortality by tossing aside his humanity, joining the ranks of gods in the form of a plant.
Makes sense.
For the observer of humanity, this method of immortality is unacceptable. As Gilgamesh prepares to return to the surface, Utnapishtim, after having his existence rejected, tells Gilgamesh that there is another way to achieve eternal life, to consume the root of an herb that grows even deeper in the underworld, the herb of immortality. Gilgamesh journeys further and successfully finds the
trust
herb.
this.
Wishing to return to Uruk for the sake of his people's praise, Gilgamesh bottles the herb and leaves the underworld. Feeling hopeful, he sets himself homeward bound, but realizes partway that he has neglected his own ragged body. To wash away his fatigue, he bathes in a nearby spring
Oh, no.
and finds peace in both body and mind, feeling what he describes as joy for the first time. He feels that, in this moment of accomplishment, he truly understands the human condition and hopes to keep this joy forever.
Yeah, I don't think you
While
do.
Gilgamesh is distracted by his profound realization, a hungry snake slithers toward the herb's scent and devours it as Gilgamesh panics towards them. Before his eyes, the snake, for the very first time, sheds its skin, being reborn anew. The herb restores youth rather than grants immortality. With the prize of his decades-long search stolen from him, Gilgamesh breaks out laughing at his own foolishness.
Yeah.
Yet, one could say he gains something much more valuable. By obtaining and losing that momentary joy, Gilgamesh realizes the nature of human experience. He learns that he doesn't have to be immortal to observe the future of humanity. He already has a glimpse of the future he can take to his grave after living and dying as a human.
Yep.
The sun rises as he laughs off the theft, and he finally returns to Uruk to complete his time as king. Of course, he makes another run through the underworld to
Obviously.
fetch more of the herb, but never uses it, instead keeping it as a part of his collection. He returns prosperity to the kingdom he left in ruin. Gilgamesh's life becomes documented in the poem The Epic of Gilgamesh, which serves as the basis for all heroic tales that come after, and is recorded into the Throne of Heroes, where he can be summoned as the King of Heroes.
That's literally how they do
On
everything.
the other hand, his actions serve to further the divide between humans and gods, accelerating the end of the Age of Gods,
Yeah.
causing divine spirits to transition to the reverse side of the world. In the modern era, during the Fourth Holy Grail War in Fuyuki, the mage Tokiomi Tosaka summons the arrogant king using the Earth's very first snake skin. Awakening in the modern
That's
era,
why.
Gilgamesh finds that humanity has lost its way,
Yeah.
and that he must reclaim all the treasures of the world, including the Holy Grail. His love for human desire pairs him up with Tokiomi's disciple, Kire Kotomine, and together they betray their master and survive the Grail War. Gilgamesh is drowned in the Grail's mud, overcoming its curses by accepting humanity's evil, and is reincarnated into the modern era, giving him the chance to quell the Earth's population during the Fifth Holy Grail War. Ultimately, however, it is his own hubris that defeats him. He rejects friendship with Iskandar, the king of conquerors, out of respect for his vow to Enkidu, and persistently harasses Artoria Pendragon, hoping to make her his wife. His desire to claim her as his own overshadows his aspirations for humanity's future, and he is struck down after underestimating her abilities.
Don't underestimate her.
The universe has many alternatives, however. In one, humanity struggles to avoid incineration by correcting historical singularities. One such singularity takes place during the Babylonian era. More specifically, as Gilgamesh is making his triumphant return from the underworld.
Okay, that makes sense.
He arrives a new man, warning his people of a vision he saw in which Uruk is destroyed by demonic forces. His noble phantasm, Shah Nakba Imuru, the omniscient, omnipotent star, allows him to see the future through clairvoyance.
Cool.
He prioritizes his abilities as a mage and a leader over his combat prowess, emptying his gate of Babylon to fortify Uruk with a massive northern wall to protect the city from invasion. Ironically, during this testing time, Uruk's people live happily and productively, valuing their own tyrannical king, who seems to have turned over a new leaf. The kingdom is rebuilt, morale is restored, and Gilgamesh protects his kingdom by using his own holy grail to summon forth various heroes, including Merlin. The source of Uruk's downfall is the primordial goddess Tiamat and her destructive chaos tide, which births demonic beasts. To assist in her awakening, a chimera is created using Enkidu's restored corpse. While looking and even sharing the same abilities and memories as Enkidu, this chimera is a separate being called Kingu, who believes it is their job to ensure their mother, Tiamat's awakening. Kingu believes that they are the prototype for a new life form to carry on after humanity is exterminated.
Oh, here we go.
Sadly, this becomes an issue when Tiamat does awaken, and her demonic beasts betray Kingu, extracting their heart, which happens to be one of Solomon's grails. Despite attacking Uruk and Chaldea's party on various occasions, Kingu winds up receiving sympathy from Gilgamesh. The king grants Kingu his holy grail to use as a heart and is treated as a friend. Enkidu's memories flow through into Kingu, compelling them to help out during the fight against Tiamat. Kingu becomes the chains of heaven to bind Tiamat, halting her assault on Uruk. This sacrifice helps Gilgamesh hold back the beast using his noble phantasm, Milamu Dingir, King's single cannon, a bombardment of mana shots launched from Uruk's perimeter. Despite this, Gilgamesh is sniped in the heart and awaits his fate of being crushed under Tiamat. He dies, sacrificing himself so that Mashu and Ritsuka Fujimaru can survive. Tiamat is weakened when she and the others fall from Uruk's surface into the underworld. There, Gilgamesh, whose soul is in the underworld, manipulates the rules and reemerges in his archer form, an incarnation of himself in his prime. As a spirit, Gilgamesh is able to participate in the final battle, vanquishing Tiamat with Ea. Emerging victorious, he decides to gift his grail to Ritsuka. He relinquishes his heroic spirit form in order to die and have Uruk continue on with a new king in his place. In the end, Uruk's tyrannical king emphatically presses forward, observing humanity's future at his own expense, comforted by the loving memories of his eternal friend. While his methods are misguided and his deeds unforgivable, Gilgamesh is certainly a force to be reckoned with, whose charisma shapes the world for better or worse.
He tried to change, that's the important thing. Like, he did try to make things better. Even if it just benefited himself, he still tried to make things better. So there was a change in characterization there.
Thank you for watching this video.
Okay, so that was the end of the video. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I always love looking into more Fate lore stuff, especially the Tale of Gilgamesh, just because I love the epic poem. I've read it in high school. I've read it a bunch of times. I always find mythical stuff like that super interesting. I'm also doing a poll on my channel right now, which is asking you guys what you think of the idea of me doing some book reviews or more interactive things like picking a manga, finding the chapter online somewhere, reading it out, and just kind of making guesses about where the plot's gonna go, characterization, things, that kind of thing, and just kind of really analyzing it and checking it out to see if it's interesting or not. You guys can also leave comments and suggest different ones you can check out. I'll do manga chapters, I'll do webtoon stuff, honestly anything you guys want to see. If you would rather me just do the review for, you know, a manga volume or a book itself, I can totally do that. I find that stuff super interesting, hence my name, Bookishnerdygirl, I mean, duh. But I hope you are all staying safe and healthy amidst all the craziness. I'm going to try to upload videos on Saturdays or Sundays, just because during the week is really hectic. Like I said, I am working now, so it's been difficult trying to kind of get used to working again, as well as do all this stuff. And I'm going to be going back to schools again, so gonna try my best to kind of deal with everything and work around everything. I'll do another live stream soon. It'll be more live reactions. I hope you guys can swing by. If I do another live stream, it will be on a Saturday and probably be at like 12 p.m.-ish. Eastern Standard Time, obviously. But I hope you're all staying safe and healthy amidst everything that's going on. Take care of yourselves. Take care of everyone you care about. Peace out, everybody.